Hey guys, welcome back to Pine Hollow Auto Diagnostics. Today we're back in the field at Absolute Auto Repair, working on this beautiful 2004 Dodge Ram 2500. It's a diesel, Cummins turbo diesel. Customer complaint is power windows seem to be acting up here. So we'll turn our key to our accessories, I guess. So driver's side window works just fine, no problems there. Passenger window from the master switch works fine, but from the door switch over here, we got nothing. Now, let's see, there's a lockout. Nothing there. Okay. The right rear works fine. Try this switch here. Huh. So those two do not work from their own switches, only from the master switch. So that's more information than I had. They just told me the passenger window works except for that switch, and they didn't say anything about the right rear window. So that's kind of a little direction changer. And then finally the left rear window doesn't work from either switch. So the left rear is completely dead, while both windows on the passenger side only work from the master switch and not their own switches. Okay, so that's where we are. Let's see if we can figure this one out. So let's start with the window that doesn't work at all and get that figured out first, and if we still have a problem with the other two, we'll go from there. So I popped the switch itself out. Here we see 5 wires. Okay, and looking at our wiring diagram, we got our scope on a rope handy here. Hopefully that's all we'll need for this diagnosis. But here's the layout. You got the driver door module here. It's a quad cab model, and then from this switch we have 4 controls going to each switch. So let's see here. There's a main power feed going to the driver's door module. There's the driver's side window, driver's door window. That works perfectly fine. And then the other 3 are, the other 3 windows here. So we're interested in the left rear, and I didn't want to print out 5 pages here. So the left rear, they're basically all the same, but we're looking for orange gray and orange white wires coming from the driver's door module to our left rear window switch. And then it would look similar to this. So these would be, the colors I marked there, and then the other ones, this is a common splice from our lockout switch. Okay, and then the 2 wires going to the motor. So let's do some poking around with a test light and see if this thing is getting any power at all. Okay, so we don't want to get hung up on why those 2 wires for the driver's window didn't have power, constant power here according to our diagram. Let's move on to our problem window, which is the left rear. Okay, so orange and white and orange and gray, those 2 wires, and we'll flip the switch here and see if our test light responds. So I'm on the orange and gray now. Okay, so that's in there. Now I'm going to flip the left rear switch. So this is down. Okay, we have a test light, and up, nothing. And then the other wire should do the opposite. The orange and white. Let's see here. I'm guessing it's that guy. Yep. Lights. Now let's put the test light on the switch on the door over there and see if it does the same thing. Okay, I got a T-pin here on the orange and gray stripe wire, the jumper, going to my test light, going to ground. Okay, now let's flip the switch and see if we get the same result. Bingo. Alright, now let's move to the orange and white. Orange and white right here. Cool. So just there we confirmed wiring integrity from here all the way to here. Awesome. I like that. Now what we want to do is move to the wires that control the motor and see if we're getting, you know, power feed through this switch to the motor. So let's try that. One more check before we chase that motor is this lockout button. Now you see normal position when everything's engaged, it's not connected to anything, this orange and light blue wire. When you push the lockout button, it should send power to all the other door switches. Okay? And that power will come here to 1 and 2, and that will, well, I mean, we can dissect this, but for now I just want to see if at the master switch, if that pin is working as it should. So let's see here. I'm going to push the lockout button, and at the actual switch on the left rear door, when I push the button and lock it out, the test light should light. That should be a positive signal to the test light here. So pushing it now. Okay, it's lit. So that seems to work just fine. I guess when this is depressed, it's unlocked, and when it's, you know, kind of sticking out, then doors or the windows are locked out. But we can't test that because all the other ones don't work either. So all I know is that button does something at this point, you know, and it's reaching the left rear door. Okay, let's jump over to the motor side. Okay, I'm on the tan with a yellow wire, so there are 2 tan wires, and those obviously go to the motor itself, since the orange ones go to our master switch. So I'm on the tan and yellow, so let's flick the switch, see if anything happens to our test light. Okay, so I'm flicking that switch right there. So down, we get a nice bright test light. There's voltage in that wire. Now we have to check the other one. Brown with a blue. Okay. Bingo. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong there. And we could try the same, just flicking this switch, looking at our test light. Huh. So from this switch, we do get a voltage. But from here, this switch here, it's acting exactly the same as all the other 3 non-driver doors. Okay? Interesting. So I think there's more than one issue here. Okay? So let's see if we can follow along. On the tan wires here, we are getting a voltage. You know, test light's bright. So but only from the master switch. This switch here is acting the same as the other two, passenger side doors, meaning it's not doing anything. So, but this motor here, it's also not doing anything, even with voltage on those control wires. So, one issue I suspect here is something to do with the motor in here. Now we can take this connector off, check the resistance of the winding, maybe smack on it, whatever. But then the second separate issue is, why are the three other switches, not the master switch, but the three other switches, why are those not working? And that should be tied together. So I'm measuring across the motor winding. See the tan yellow and then the tan and blue wires right here. We have 1.8 ohms. So interesting. I thought I'd see an open or something. I don't know if we had any current going through there. Very peculiar. Okay, so 1.8 ohms. Now I'm curious if we just, give this motor some power, if it'll work. That'll be like a bypass test. So let me think about this a little bit. Oh man, I didn't think power windows could make such an interesting case study, but here's where we are. Still doing the test light testing here, and the diagram seems to be off. You see, when we looked at the diagram here, the power feed, it's supposed to feed everything in the neutral position. I thought that was kind of crazy, and that doesn't seem to be the case. What we should have is all these contacts should be grounded in the neutral position. And then when you flip the switch, then we'll get power on either, one side or the other. That would make a lot more sense. Because if everything's constantly power and you control the ground side, that's just not, I've never seen it done that way before. And, if everything's powered up, there's just, that's not a good design. More chances for shorting something out. So, let's see if that theory is right. Now, my test light is now connected to, that's the feed, that's the positive feed. If I touch my T-pin on something metal, the test light should light. Okay. Now, let's see which of these pins are grounded in the neutral position. Let's start down the line here. We've got to make sure a test light stays connected to battery positive here. Let's go down the line. So that's grounded. That's grounded. If you flip the switch, see that? One way the ground disappears and the other way it stays. Now I should probably get a better connection for my test light here so we're not getting any false readings. Alright guys, for the sake of reliable testing, we actually have a proper connection to our positive, and that is hooked to the end of my test light. Okay? Now if we touch this side, this jumper, to something metal, test light should light up. Okay, now we can do our ground checks here. So my theory is all of these pins here are constantly grounded, not constantly powered like the diagram tells us. So let's check here. That's a ground. That's a ground. Now if we flip the switch, this is the driver's window. See, that goes out one way and then perfect. Okay. Now I'm not going to check all of them, but see, that's ground, that's ground, that's ground, it's also ground, ground, and ground. Perfect. So all these main feeds that go to the other switches are grounded, except for when you flip the switch here, and then we've got some action. And that makes a lot more sense, because looking at one of these switches, if these were both constantly power, okay, the motor needs a ground to work, and there's no other ground here. See, that's definitely not a ground. Those are constantly power. No matter what you do here, the motor's not going to run. That's what I didn't understand before, but now seeing that saying both of these are ground. So where would the motor get its power? That's my question now. Would it get it from that lockout switch? So let's say you close that switch, then we do have a constant feed to here. So it's going to be powered up there and there. And that would make perfect sense because these two are grounds. You flip a switch, one contact's positive. Say you flip it to the 1 position. So this would be a ground. Let's see. So yeah, that's ground. That would be a ground. And then the motor, this leg here, what would happen? Stay with me here, guys. Stay with me. Let's see, we have power here. This is power, constant power, constant power. Power right there. Okay. And by default, these two would be grounded and grounded. Alright guys, sorry this is turning into kind of a messy diagnosis. A, I don't know if the diagram is accurate, and B, I don't know what is a known good. Nothing's really working. So basically what I found so far is at the master switch, let's just focus on the left rear door, okay? It's these two pins, orange white pin 4 and orange gray pin 10. 4 and 10 right here. Okay. Test light's connected to power. That's grounded right now. Flip the switch. You know, there's a change. The other one, it's grounded. Flip the switch. Now the other way, there's a change. Cool. And we can do the same if our test light's connected to ground. It just works the opposite. There you go. Now let's do the same check at the door connector. So let's go back to positive over here. Okay. Make sure a test light works. It doesn't. Make sure connectors are good. Okay. Come on. A lot of variables. Well, okay, we know that this door jam's a good ground. For some reason the rear one is not, which blows my mind. It's not a good ground. But anyways, let's check both wires here. The orange and gray. Test light lit. Again, let's toggle the switch. So that checks wiring integrity of this orange and gray wire from here to the door. Now let's check that orange and white. And you see our test light is not lit. Interesting. So that's a problem. Here it was lit. You know, the orange and white wire, that was grounded, and now it is not. Therefore, I say we have a broken wire from here to the left rear door. That is one problem. Now, tracing that wire, obviously it's probably in here. All the Chryslers do it. They're probably broken wires right in this you know, door hinge area because they didn't leave any room for them to bend. But to trace that wire and to fix it, obviously that's a separate charge. Now from here, can we 100% say, like, is the motor good? And is that rear switch also good? We know we have a broken wire. Maybe do a bypass test. So the wire we're worried about is that orange and white, okay? That's supposed to be a ground. Right now. Can we just jumper this wire to a ground? And will the window work? So I'm going to try that. Now I'm going to use a fuse just in case, you know, our diagram is incorrect or something. So let's try that. Okay, so here's the situation. I grounded that pin, remember that. Okay, take a step back. When the switches are in their neutral position, both of these wires should be grounded. So that right now is a ground. Through a jumper, through a fuse, 20 amp fuse, to our latch right there. So now trying the switch here. Nice. Okay, so that tells us our motor is good. And then trying this switch here. Wow, it works both ways. So this switch is good. Okay, let's see here. And so with this switch here, we can only go down, not up. With this switch, we can go both ways. Oh man. Okay, so we solved one problem. Did we create another problem? I don't think so. So that wire right there is definitely broken between here and the master switch. Confirmed. We bypassed it and now it works. But does it work 100%? Not quite yet. Now we have to figure out, so we can go down but not up. So I think to go up, remember the polarity is reversed on that motor, and right now this is constantly being grounded. So we actually need to send a power. See, doing this bypass test, you have to be really careful. Because if you send a constant power to that wire, and well, it's not going to go here because we have a broken wire. But if it did, and that wire is grounded, you would. That's why we use a fuse jumper, okay? So basically, now what I'm going to do to lift that window back up, we're going to put this. Ready for some sparks? That one wire we're going to make constantly positive now. Alright, what will that do? Lift our window. So that's confirmed. We can even well, I mean that's it. So broken wire, and this door will work. See, now the switch doesn't work. Man, so many variables. So this guy, let's see, connect to ground again. Now this switch works perfectly. That's a constant ground, like it should be. Okay, from here let's check the other doors. Alright guys, I had to step away from the camera here and actually get down and dirty and figure this thing out. So anyways, two issues. First, that broken wire. Second issue is that common feed from the lockout switch. There's a lockout switch, okay? That's depressed, that's unpressed. Now my test light's connected to that same lockout switch wire right here at the window switch. Now see, right now the switch works, everything's great, but just a moment ago it stopped working. Now I was fiddling with the wires and here's what I found. I was fiddling with this connection right here. I was kind of, you know, just messing with it. And see the test light? Like, we get that to stay off right there. Now, nothing. Okay? Press it together. See, it came on. See that? I touched the switch, it turned off. That means when that motor is trying to draw amperage, something in here, the contact is just, it's not being continuous. It's either heating up and coming apart. So, see, the light's off. We press this together. See, the problem's here. It's not here. It's right. It's something to do with this module. See, I put a little pressure on there. It's this wire right here, the blue and, or the orange and blue. So if we get that to stay on, I don't know how to. Let's just get this window to work. See that? Now it doesn't want to work. So let me get this to work, and if that one works, I think all the other ones should work too. Okay, so we're getting really close here. So somehow I'm going to get this to stay on to be able to actually carry some current. See, that didn't work, so let me fill it with this a little bit. Alright, so check this out. Only took a second. Now I can control this window with this switch. Now let's go to the other doors. My suspicion is these switches should work just fine. Oh yeah, beauty. Sweet. So all our problems, well, two problems, that broken wire and something in here in this module that's preventing a good contact. And there it is right there. So at this point, might take that connector off, see what's going on. But otherwise, if that wire and pin are good, it's going to be internal. And then we can always take it apart, see if there's something burned up, clean it up, whatever. But at this point, the diagnosis is complete. We have a bad connection here to our lockout switch wire, and we have a broken wire, this orange and white on pin 7, is it pin 4, going to our left rear door. So I'm going to see if you want me to go any further. If not, thanks a lot for watching. That kind of kicked my butt, but anyways, sometimes it's better to focus on one thing and not worry about taping, but I really wanted to bring you along, so we'll see where we go from here. Just a quick shot of this connector here. Test light connected to ground again. Now that pin, this orange and blue wire, the corresponding pin on here should be hot. Okay. prop this up with my leg. That pin right there, the one in the lower corner. So I'm touching it. Test light should light all the time reliably. Now if I fiddle around with it a little bit, at one point it was not lighting. Of course on camera it works perfectly, right? Now if we press the button, we should have no power on that pin. Okay, good. Press the button again. Should have constant power. And this pin looks, the fitment looks good. So the problem's in this box. Let's try this again. Be real gentle. Touching the pin. Light is not lighting. I push on the pin, it lights up. From this side, nothing. No light. So, internal problem in the box. Alright guys, for a complete 100% diagnosis, I couldn't help myself. I tore this thing apart. And what do we see? We're looking for that lower right pin right there. Come up here. Bingo. Cracked solder joint. Hardcore. And look at that thing. Wow. That's a confirmed problem right there. So, some of these contacts look a little burnt, but let's reflow the solder. It'll be good as new. We got the butane soldering iron warming up here. Now we're going to reflow all of the high current connections here. So these lower ones and these two upper ones right here. The ones for the mirror we don't care about. Alright, I'll set up the camera and show you the procedure. Alright, soldering irons is nice and hot. And we're going to start at the bottom here, work our way up. So for each pin, we want to hold the iron on here, wait until the solder completely liquefies, like that, and then let it off. That's all we need to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, nice, 7, look at that, 8, 9, 10, 11. See how shiny it gets? That's when you know you're in good shape. And now, final touch here. That guy right there. And for these I might add some solder. Got our Radio Shack rosin core. So let me do this one again here. Okay, then our problem pin. We want to get this one nice and hot and melted. Sweet, yeah, there we go. Keep in mind I had a lot of arcing and stuff, so the carbon builds up a little bit. But I think right now we should be good in shape. Put this back together. We can actually plug it in right now and see if the windows work. Alright, so we're on that pin again, the one that was intermittent. Now we got constant power on there. We want to go around to all the switches and make sure that light stays lit. and our windows work. So here's the rear. Sweet. Let's go over to, I mean, I know these are going to work, but just, you know, like Scanner Danner says, for the naysayers. Excellent. Nothing else to do over here. Perfect. So at this point, if we disconnect our bypass wire, the only thing that won't work is the switch from the master switch to that left rear window. All the other ones work perfectly fine, but now this switch should work. Well, again, I guess we have to ground this wire. So that's interesting. The wire does need to be grounded for even the slave switch to work. Huh. Imagine that. Alright, so that wire does need to be fixed to enable this left rear window from any switch. But that's it for now. The customer needs to pick up the car. Maybe he'll be back for the broken wire. So I'm assuming it's either going to be in here or over there. Maybe we can even pinpoint it real quick with a test light. You think we could do that?